Hello, I hope everybody is good today. Sorry, my voice is still a little bit gone from being sick. Uh, I had like a full day of rest yesterday, and it was the first actual day off I've had in a long time where I had nothing else to do, and I really needed it. And I tried to really listen to my body and sleep and not do it. And I was writing about this morning of like, I also needed a day of not being around other people at all because even the people that I love the most and that give me energy and um like I'm just close to and I feel like they understand me. It's also like I am just people pleasing all the time and I'm so aware of like how I present myself to other people and how they see me and yeah, just being removed from any like interpersonal sort of stimuli because I get so stressed about like just being around other people sometimes is good for me. So anyway, yeah, I'm still a little bit swollen in my throat. I can just feel it, which again is like I got to rest my voice yesterday, not talking to anybody, which is good. I'm definitely not like back to 100%, but definitely better than I was yesterday. So I'm gonna try and just keep taking it easy. And I'm telling myself that when I go to work, because I work tonight and tomorrow, that I'm just not gonna care. Like, I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, I have to not give a fuck. Otherwise, I'm just gonna get really sick again. And I can't do that. So I'm gonna try and go NPC mode this weekend and just not care and not let myself get worked up because I think that's why I'm back here again. And that sucks. Also, like, I think I'm just in a lot of ways reconciling with the fact that as I'm getting older, or also perhaps that, I am just dealing with some mental health stuff. And like, I was always just a really pretty healthy, like, active kid. I come from a athletic family. I've always felt very physically capable. And it's weird for me to not feel that way and has caused some stress for me. So, and again, that's coming from a very privileged place of being very healthy and having access to healthcare and, good food and all of that growing up. So, but I think the other thing is I think I mentioned on here that I got diagnosed with ADHD like 2 weeks ago, last week. I can't remember now. Um, and a lot makes sense now, and there's still a lot of things that I like really struggle with. In fact, that I feel like I've been struggling with more now uh than I had before, which was kind of weird. And just realizing that when you're growing up and when you're going through school, I was actually watching Jaden Animations um video about being diagnosed with ADHD because I just love her and I was looking at her channel and I was like, oh, she has a video about this. That's cool. We have that in common. So anyway, and I think I've been on like the ADHD subreddit too and just trying to like find some commonalities and just not feel like so alone. Because I think for a long time I really felt like I was just in the open ocean and I just felt like there's something wrong with me, like I've talked about before. And I know that it's not like wrong with you, and uh, it's weird because whether or not you see mental health issues as like an actual problem, you know what I mean? Like, oh, there's something wrong with you. Regardless of that, society is not built for the way my brain is wired. And I've had a hard time, like, keeping jobs and just physically taking care of myself. And I think, anyway, so something that Jaden was talking about in her video about it is that, when you're a kid and even into college for me, like, you have a physical support system. Like, I was, again, very fortunate and very privileged to be in a family where, like, my mom took she's such a caretaker and made meals for us and helped us with our laundry. And, we did chores and stuff, but like, you have someone taking you where you need to go and reminding you of your schedule, and school itself has so much structure too, where you're supposed to be, you know you have these assignments to work on and turn in and all that, and then you get thrown into the adult world and you're on your own. I'm single, I don't have a partner who is like supporting me with like making meals or helping me with housework. Like, I have to keep up with all of that myself, and I pride myself on that, like, being self-sufficient, and I like being on my own for the most part. But at the same time, like, it's been one of the hardest things of my adult life has been taking care of my physical needs for myself, and trying to find the little things that work. I make myself the same 3 meals at home, maybe 2, because it's easy and I don't have to think about it or anything. And so I'm just trying to, right now, it feels like a regression in certain ways. Like, the past couple months have been a struggle of taking care of myself. And that's frustrating and it sucks. And again, Jaden was talking about this in her video too. So I guess it's a pretty, like, I'm not alone in this feeling, but like, I used to be able to take better care of myself. What has changed? But then I look to my entire adult life outside of school, and it's like, oh no, I've struggled with this. It was just before I had people like who had food readily available and made for me, like in the dining hall at school, and just more support. So anyway, it's like I'm almost 30, and I get frustrated that I'm still struggling with this when I feel like I should have my shit more together. But it's also, I think, reconciling. Oh, the kitty, he clicked off the camera. There we go. I think I'm just reconciling the fact that, like, I'm moving towards a place where I'm constructing a life that makes more sense for myself, and trying to move myself away from these patterns of thinking that cause stress and suffering in certain ways. And a lot of that is me figuring out who I am a lot more, um, and understanding myself better. And then I think feeling like the shame and no butthole on camera. It's not that kind of video. Sorry, Teku's being sweet. You're being sweet. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, just like as I get to know myself better, like in queerness and just existing in, like, it sounds weird to say, but like a secular way of being. Again, I was raised in high control religion. I've talked about this in previous videos, but it's still like I'm still working through so much guilt. And also just like I was really told, like, your life is one way. This is how it's going to be. And anytime I deviate from it, it feels like so much and such a big deal, even though I'm just living a very normal life by like general societal standards. You know what I mean? Like, it feels very extreme to me. I said to a friend recently, I feel like I'm in my rebellious teenage phase right now, which, again, if you look at my life, it's very normal. Nothing too crazy, but anyway, you're so cute. Mwah. So I'm just trying to take it easy as usual, and just, again, back in therapy, and been enjoying that, and just trying to take the steps I need to take care of myself and keep building the life that I want and that I love. But the good news is, I've been able to keep investing my time and energy into the things that I know make me happy. I have right here my copy of Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and I know a lot of people read this in school. It's my first time, and I had read previously, recommended by my aunt, who is awesome and just someone I really love and respect. She's so cool. But she was like, you need to read something, Wicked This Way Comes, which I read for like over the summer last year with her. And then she recommended the Illustrated Man short story collection, which is based on the same character that's in something Wicked This Way Comes, just as like the frame story. And then I read those stories, which are all sci-fi actually, even though Something Wicked is more fantasy leaning. Anyway, but those are like some of my favorite short stories ever. I think about them like at least once a week. There's just some really cool concepts in there. I love his voice so much. And I've just been reading some really great literature. I did Vonnegut, I did Cat's Cradle, then I did Steinbeck, which I just talked about and finished, and it was so good. I'll talk maybe more about that later. But Fahrenheit 451 is like, I'm only like not even 50 pages in. This man, he's so good. He's so good. He's one of my favorite writers ever. And this is such a classic and still always so relevant. And I love dystopian literature that I can't believe it's taken me this long to read it. But anyway, so I was reading this and just absolutely fucking loving it. And it's so like easy to read too, in the way that like Steinbeck still requires a little bit of work from me. Like this is just like so easy and so cool. But anyway, I was reading and then I have this shorter novel idea that I'm working on. I've laid this out before. I have a short story collection of like sci-fi short stories that are actually very inspired by Ray Bradbury and The Illustrated Man specifically. And then I have two shorter novels that I've kind of started developing those ideas and like started some prose on. And then I have like my big sci-fi epic that I imagine is like at least a duology or maybe a trilogy. And that's kind of my oldest idea and the one that I'm like the most passionate about. But it's also the biggest in scale and scope and is going to take me forever to write. So I'm trying to go for these smaller projects first. And so one of the shorter novels that I'm working on right now is really speaking to me. And I had a conversation with another artist recently who's a musician, but just like a real artist at heart. And we were just talking about craft and process. And one of the things we were talking about is because he also was like, I was just like, yeah, I just got diagnosed with ADHD. I'm telling fucking everybody again because it feels like an excuse for my what I perceive to be annoying behavior. Anyway, but he was like, oh, me too. And I was talking about how I have a bunch of different projects. I'm like, I need to have a bunch of different like pans in the fire, otherwise I get bored. And he was like, I can so relate to that. So that was validating. But I was just saying that for me, I think as I'm trying to figure out like what my process is and what it is that makes me want to engage with my projects is the realization that each story that I'm writing corresponds to a different part of myself that is important to me or that I'm trying to figure out and parse through. And so this novel that I had like that I thought was cool and is kind of inspired by some of my favorite pieces of art like The Truman Show and Edward Scissorhands and like some sort of like uncanny, it's kind of like a sitcom premise and it's about a character breaking out of a sitcom. It's more like speculative fiction. Anyway, but it's very much about my relationship to my family and my relationship to the sort of performance that I felt was kind of demanded of me, like, and how my internal self and who I was on the inside didn't feel like it matched the sort of character that I was expected to play in my own life and in my family and in the community I was brought up in. And so I've been just feeling a lot of those feelings recently because I've spent some time with my family and again, a lot of like just. Okay, sorry, the cat hit the camera, so I'll have to edit this. Okay, anyway, but yeah, just growing up in the family that I did, and I don't know, I think a lot of us spend our whole adult lives kind of reconciling with the sort of bombardment that was childhood in a lot of ways, and the ways that our development and the environment and the people that we engaged with and all of that, the experiences that we had shape who we were then, but who we are now as adults. So anyway, I'm just going through a lot of that feeling. And like I had a phase, honestly, this is so honest. And to be honest, I hope they don't really see this, but there was a period of time where I was like really mad at my parents specifically. And I think that's a very natural thing of just like, why couldn't they give me what I needed? Why couldn't they see me more? Why couldn't, whatever? And I'm kind of reaching that point of grace of like, they're doing the best they could. Being a person is so hard. Like, they're doing everything they can to kind of keep it together. And they didn't do anything to me, at least I can imagine, out of malice. Like, they really do love me. And again, I'm very fortunate to have parents who love me a lot. So, anyway, it's just a very complicated, very difficult, like emotionally fraught process to deal with those emotions. And it's very clear to me that, like, one of the best ways I can do that for myself is through art and through, like, to me, I want to do some more essays, and I enjoy that a lot, and more journalism, but to me, like, I will always be a fiction writer because there's just something about abstracting very real ideas into, like, artistic narrative structures that really works for me and connects with me, and, like, yeah, demonstrates a feeling more than I think just blatantly explaining something to someone can, because you're asking them to step into that emotional world with you. So anyway, I feel like, okay, when I lived in LA, I had this therapist who was amazing, and I probably owe him my life, to be honest with you, because I was really going through it when I lived in California, but which is the most cliche thing in the world. How many songs are there about having an ego death in California? Uh, anyway, but his specialty was working with creative types, and for a long time, I didn't feel like I could write, and I was really frustrated with myself for not getting on the page because I think ultimately I didn't know, like, who I was as a person. So how could I know who I am as an artist, you know? And I was also just, like, experiencing a lot. I was getting the the sort of culture shock and shock to the system that I needed to break out of, again, a very, like, sheltered, controlled upbringing that was just, my world was so small for so long. And I also have just a really great friend who just gave me, like, one of the greatest, most memorable pieces of advice I've ever received. Sorry, Deku's being really cute, but also he's gonna hit the thing again. Buddy, come here. You're being a goober. You want to sit on my lap? Come here. No, he does not want to sit on my lap. But my friend said to me, "No, hold to camera. We've talked about this, please." Um, she was like, "Noelle, you're going through all of the things right now that you're going to be writing about for the rest of your life. Live them, and you'll have time. You'll figure it out." And again, as much as I can talk about how I've been struggling and, like, just trying to get my feet under me and take care of myself. He's purring. Good boy. He will always zero in on whatever is holding my attention and do whatever he can to break line of sight and put himself in between the thing that is holding my attention so that I have to pet him. Usually it's screens. He's good at that. You're crazy. I love you so much. Anyway, but yeah, that advice I think is so true. And I've kind of known, I think, for a long time, as frustrated as I've been, of, like, I had all this free time. Why didn't I write? Why haven't I been honing my craft or whatever? Like, I didn't have a lot to write about yet. And, like, I was still figuring out what my relationship to, like, living has been for a long time. So all of this to say, I really feel like now I am finally to a point, because that old therapist I had would be like, I would say, like, well, I need to win these prizes and I need to be the next great American novelist. I think I talked about this, and, like, he would always say, that's your ego talking. Like, you can't write from a place of ego. And I feel like now I'm finally getting to a point where I can see my relationship to literature and to writing for, I think, not just what it needs to be, but what it is, of, like, just this therapeutic, like, it's my lifeline. It's the way that I interpret the world. When I was a kid, because I didn't have any other way to put it, I said to my mom, I hear God most clearly, most directly and most beautifully through a really great story, a book, not the Bible, like a novel. And now I just know that, I mean, that's still true to me. I think, like, that's my worldview. Like, storytelling is my worldview. And it is a sacred thing to me. So anyway, yeah, I was just reading Fahrenheit 451, and then it inspired me with an idea, and I was just sitting here writing, and it didn't feel like it often does, like fucking torture. Like I was sitting here like words were flowing and I'm just seeing where it's going. And that's another thing too, is people get so like, well, you need outline and blah blah blah. And I'm with this project, I'm just having fun, like seeing where it takes me and just expressing the ideas I need to express. Again, because like doing these videos, I've realized how stream of consciousness my style is. And so I'm like, all right, let's just try this in narrative form. Like, where is this going to take me? What are the ideas that I need to express? And I'm just not I'm not gripping it so tightly. I'm not like trying to white knuckle my writing, I think. I'm just letting it happen. And two, like trusting, to me, like reading great literature and investing my time in that is training. Like it's enjoyment and it's so enjoyable, but it's also like if you can sit with really complex and beautifully written ideas and characters and themes and all of those things, like you are what you eat. Like you internalize that, you know. And I'm trying not to internalize the bad parts of these books written by old white men. Like again, Winter of Our Discontent was misogynistic in a way that made me very uncomfortable. But is it a fucking amazing book about uh how capitalism demands that we kill our souls in order to be successful? Yeah. So again, many things can be true at once. So I'm trying to internalize the great prose and characters and leave the things that don't serve me. But um it feels like this is conditioning in a way, and then I can just trust myself when I sit down to write that the quality of my prose is going to be where I need it to be. You know what I mean? And again, first drafts, like I'll be able to go in and gut everything and see where my little quirks are of things that I repeat too much, or you know, my weak spots, because we all have so many weak spots. But like again, it's the journey, it's the process. And this is what they want to take away from us with AI. Like the process of figuring it out and exploring and like growing as a person and as a reader and a writer, like that's my greatest joy in life. Again, it's why I am the way that I am and why I've constructed my life to where it is. Like I could have gotten married young and been a stay-at-home mom. I could have done the corporate life. I could have stayed in LA and done whatever, but like I am here and doing what I'm doing now so that I can do this. So I can do this and do this. That's me typing. Can you tell? Anyway, so I just feel like I'm going through a really big period of change in like a good way, and just getting to a place hopefully where I can be more at peace with myself. But you know, I think middle term, you know, not long term, not short term, middle term, I'm gonna want to be um, applying to grad schools for their writing programs probably, and um, I would love to do like writers fellowships and grants, and like if I could go to a residency somewhere, oh my god, that would be the dream. But I think for now it's just this. It's just focusing, like I'm very content where I am. Uh and that's so exciting. That's great. Like how many people, despite all the bullshit and despite the backdrop of late stage capitalism strangling all of us, hopefully not to death, but it sure fucking feels like it, like again, and I've talked about this before too, the dissonance between like being able to like, am I allowed to have fun? Am I allowed to like have a good time with this? And I think the answer is yes, despite all of the bullshit, because at the end of the day, like this is supposed to be fun. My relationship to art is supposed to be fun, and for a long time it's been like a real point of stress, you know. So, and again, it's my worldview, and it feels like my only way to meaningfully engage with the world that feels like it's falling apart. And it's honestly a way to keep me off my phone and the algorithms. Like that's another sort of indicator to me that I've been growing a lot recently, is that I go on Instagram and I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like this is not, there's nothing here for me. And like old YouTube channels that I used to watch, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's so like just sensationalist and void of substance. And again, not everything all the time has to be like this learning experience and an opportunity for growth or whatever, because you need to relax. And I love brain rot as much as anybody else, but also like knowing when to walk away and knowing when like my engagement with just the algorithm to the most hedonistic degree has stunted my growth. Like, again, seeking out friction. People talk about friction being important, and I think that that's true. So anyway, I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say about this in the future, but I'm just, as much as I'm physically still not great, and work has been really stressful and all that, there are good things and things that are improving, and writing is fun. Who knew? Okay, I'm gonna go. I have stuff to do, but this was good. Talk to you later. Bye.